All right, so get ready because we're about to take a deep dive into a story that's incredibly effective and unsettling. It's called The Whispering Shadows of Margalla Road.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, so you know it's from Store of Stories. And they're known for their creepy tales.
Hmm.
But what really got me about this one is how it takes Islamabad, Pakistan, which is known for being so peaceful,
Right.
and turns it into this backdrop for a truly chilling encounter.
It's true. It's that contrast that really gets you. It's like you're lulled into this sense of security, and then bam, this story just pulls the rug right out from under you.
Exactly. And to really nail that sense of dread, they layer in these specific details like the Margalla Hills and the winding road and the time. Midnight, flickering streetlights, cold, moonless night.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're painting a picture of unease before anything even happens.
Yeah, and you could practically feel the chill. Like
Yeah.
you're right there with Samir,
Mhm.
and you can see those shadows stretching and hear that quiet hum of the car engine.
And speaking of Samir, he's a university student driving home late at night.
Right.
Something a lot of us can relate to, right?
Oh, for sure.
Taking a shortcut to save time, maybe feeling a bit tired.
Yeah, definitely relatable.
Mm.
Makes what happens next even more unsettling.
Totally. And that brings us to the mysterious woman.
Ooh.
So Samir's just cruising along Margalla Road when things start to get a little weird.
Uh-oh.
His radio crackles, headlights dim, and all of a sudden there she is, a woman in a long white dress just standing on the side of the road.
You know that classic image of the woman in white? It always sends shivers down my spine.
Like an instant chill, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It taps into that primal fear of the unknown. Who is she? What does she want? Why is she there?
So many questions, and the story really plays with that.
Mm.
It's not just that she's there, it's how she's described. The pale face, strange eyes, all these details that just set off alarm bells in Samir's mind.
It's like they're playing with your expectations. You're expecting to see someone in distress, but the way she's described hints at something way more sinister.
Right. So Samir does what I think anyone might do.
What's that?
He rolls down his window to offer help.
Oh, no.
But as she turns, giving him a clear view of her face, something about her just makes him panic.
That moment of realization. It's like a switch flips, and suddenly all he can think about is escape.
He slams on the gas, speeds away, and catches one last glimpse of her in his rearview mirror, and then she's just gone.
Oh, wow.
It's like a classic jump scare moment, but it also plants that seed of doubt.
Right.
Like, is she even real? Or is Samir's mind playing tricks on him?
It's like the story is blurring the lines between what's real and what Samir is perceiving.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so unsettling, because even as he's questioning what he saw, he feels a chill.
Oh, no.
He can sense someone in the passenger seat.
Oh, I don't like that.
It's like, okay, maybe you didn't see her, but you can definitely feel her presence.
That shift from the visual to the tactile. So smart. It's not just something you see, now it's something you can feel.
And then comes one of the most effective parts of the whole story.
What's that?
The whisper.
Oh, tell me about it.
In a soft, chilling voice, right in his ear, someone whispers, "You shouldn't have stopped."
It's so invasive and personal.
Like a total violation, right?
And those words, so full of threat.
Samir almost loses control of the car, but when he looks, the seat's empty.
Well,
Now he's really feeling like he's losing it, which is exactly what the story wants us to feel too.
makes you question everything.
Yeah, are we being manipulated by the story? Are we experiencing Samir's fear so intensely that we're starting to question reality right along with him?
It's a good question.
And just when you think things can't get any weirder, he comes across a car parked haphazardly on the road, hazard lights blinking.
Okay.
There's a panicked man standing next to it, waving for help.
So it's like a moment of relief. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a rational explanation for everything.
Yeah, maybe. But that relief is short-lived. Because before Samir can even react, the man points at his car and shouts, "She's in there!"
Oh, my God.
It connects the mysterious woman to something tangible, a missing person.
Raising the stakes.
Right. Now, it's not just a ghost story, it's a story with real-world consequences, a potential victim.
Wow. So what happens next?
Samir, totally terrified, slams on the accelerator and speeds away.
He's got to get out of there.
The whispers are back, louder now, filling the car with these incoherent words, the atmosphere heavy and suffocating.
Oh, gosh. The
It's like the story is physically pressing down on you.
Yeah.
But then, silence. The whispers stop, the air clears. Samir, shaking, pulls over and gets out of the car.
I bet.
And then he turns to look back.
Okay. I'm on the edge of my seat.
And there she is, the woman in white sitting in the driver's seat staring at him.
No way.
Confirmation that everything he experienced was real, that something truly supernatural has invaded his world. The next morning, they find Samir's car abandoned. The police report says he was alone. But here's the thing. The passenger seatbelt is buckled.
Oh my gosh, what does that mean?
That detail just throws everything into question. What happened to Samir? Was he truly alone? And what does that buckled seatbelt signify?
That is seriously creepy. It's the perfect ending for a ghost story. Leaves you with more questions than answers and a lingering sense of unease.
Yeah.
I mean, that buckled seatbelt, talk about chilling. It's like the perfect example of how this story uses ambiguity so well, you know. It doesn't give you any easy answers, just leaves you grappling with all the what ifs.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like the story dares you to come up with an explanation, and no matter what you come up with, it just makes it creepier.
Right.
That's part of why the story has stuck with me. It's not just the jump scares, but this unsettling feeling that hangs around long after you're done listening.
Exactly. And that's where the real brilliance of this story lies. You know, the whispering shadows. It's not just a scary story. It explores the whole psychology of fear, the way our minds try to deal with the unexplainable.
Yeah, so it's not just about the woman or the whispers or even that seatbelt. It's about what all that makes us feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to get those feelings, one of the most effective things they do is how they use sensory details.
Right.
Think about the whispers. Not just creepy sounds, but a direct invasion of Samir's space.
You know what? I hadn't thought about it like that before, but you're right. It's like those whispers are his paranoia taking shape, that feeling that something's closing in on him, that he's not alone even when he thinks he is.
Yeah, and that feeling is made even stronger by all the other sensory details, too. Like the flickering streetlights, her pale face and strange eyes. It's all visual, and it just triggers that sense of unease that something's not quite right.
Working on a subconscious level, right? Our instincts are just wired to be wary of things that look or sound different, and the story just nails that.
For sure. And it doesn't stop there either. Remember how the passenger seat feels occupied even when he knows it's empty?
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's the story messing with touch now,
Yeah.
making that fear even more, I don't know, visceral.
Like it's reaching out and grabbing you, making you part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's a big part of why it works so well. It
Yeah.
doesn't just tell you about his fear, it makes you feel it.
Right. And that brings us to the psychological stuff, too. Like it preys on that fear of the unseen, the unknown. We're always trying to fill in the blanks, come up with stories to explain things we don't understand.
Makes sense. Like we need to find patterns, right, to make sense of everything.
Yeah. And when something just defies explanation, that need goes into overdrive.
Okay, so how does this story play into that?
The Whispering Shadows is perfect for that because it gives you just enough to come up with your own theories, but never enough to really satisfy you. You're left with that uncertainty, wondering what really happened.
Yeah, what's lurking out there that we don't get?
Exactly. And that uncertainty, that's what really gets under your skin.
And it makes you think about how little we might actually understand.
Like a reality check almost.
And that there could be things out there that we just can't explain.
Yeah.
I think that's part of why ghost stories, like as a whole, are so powerful. They tap into that fear that we're not alone, that there's stuff out there that we can't even begin to understand.
Definitely the Whispering Shadows, though, takes that even further. It uses those classic scary elements, but explores something deeper. The idea that maybe we can't even trust our own sense of reality.
Oh, interesting. Like, is Samir even a reliable narrator?
Exactly. And are we, as the listeners, being played by the story itself?
That's a great point. You know, it never actually says if what's happening is real or just in his head.
Yeah.
It's up to us to decide.
Cool.
And that makes it even more complex.
Yeah, that ambiguity makes the whole story so much more powerful because it makes you question everything, you know, all your beliefs about the world.
And I think that's pretty deep for a ghost story. It's not just about scaring you, but about making you think, challenging what you think you know.
And it reminds us that sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we create in our own minds, the fears that are hidden in the shadows.
That's a great point, I think. So we've got the whispering shadows of Margalla Road. It uses all these familiar things, the woman in white whispers that haunted road, and turns it into something that's terrifying and thought-provoking. It really makes you think, though, doesn't it, about how this story in Islamabad connects to something so much bigger. It's like it taps into these fears that are just part of being human, you know?
Yeah.
A universal language of fear.
Right. Like how many cultures have their own woman in white or stories about haunted roads? It's like these figures speak to something deep down, something that goes beyond just one place.
It's like we're all programmed to be scared by certain things, certain sounds, certain images. They just trigger that feeling of, oh, something's not right, and this story just nails it.
It really does. And it's not just about scaring us either.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times these stories are like warnings, about going into dangerous places like Margalla Road or even a dangerous headspace, like pushing yourself too far with what you're willing to believe.
So it's about boundaries then, too.
Exactly. The lines between what we know and what we don't, what makes sense and what doesn't. And it's interesting how Samir keeps trying to move those lines.
Right.
At first, he's like, oh, it's just my imagination trying to hold on to something logical. But then as things happen, he has to face the fact that maybe, just maybe, something supernatural is going on.
Like he's trying to make his understanding of the world fit with what he's seeing and hearing, and that's tough.
It is. And I think we've all been there, right? When something happens that just doesn't fit with what we thought we knew.
Yeah, for sure. It's like a reminder that we're not always in control, that there are things bigger than us, things we may never understand, and that's what makes the whispering shadows so powerful.
Totally.
It leaves you with this feeling, this awareness that maybe the shadows are closer than we thought, that maybe there really are things whispering in the dark, just waiting for us to hear them.
And maybe sometimes it's better not to hear them. Some things are better left alone.
Ooh, that is chilling. So listener, as you're out there, on whatever road you're traveling, keep an eye on that passenger seat. And if you hear a whisper, well, you've been warned. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the whispering shadows of Margalla Road.